Today I'm tasting a top quality Saint-Emilion. So this is the 2017 vintage of Chateau Trotte Vieille. So the Premier Grand Cru Classe, Premier Grand Cru Classe level B. And this is a quite a historic chateau. There are written references of grapes being grown at Trotte Vieille back to 1453. So potentially one of the earliest estates in this particular appellation. The estate is about just over half a kilometre outside town on a clay and limestone plateau, alongside some other quite famous estates, places like Balestard, Tonelle, Troplong-Mondot. The estate is owned by the Casteja family, who bought it in 1949. They are owners of other estates throughout Bordeaux. They have properties in Pauillac, Saint-Estèphe, and in Pomerol, as well as Trotte Vieille, which is one of their premium properties in Saint-Emilion. The estate was classified in 1955 in the classification of Saint-Emilion at this level of Premier Grand Cru Classe B, and it has stayed there for that period. The soil types here quite suit Cabernet, the growing of Cabernet. So although I think there is a predominance of Merlot, quite often the blend will actually have a combination of Cabernet Franc and Cabernet Sauvignon that is higher than the Merlot content. I think this has 49% of Merlot, 46% of Cabernet Franc, and 5% of Cabernet Sauvignon, making up the blend in 2017. Winemaking here is done in a relatively new cellars, and the vats are all closely connected in size to what each plot will produce, so that you're not fermenting in vats of excess size or having to blend parcels. I mean, for instance, one of the oldest parcels at Trotte Vieille of vines is over 140 years old, and they keep that completely separate and sell that as a separate cuvee. But the vineyard resources here are superb. The name Trotte Vieille evidently references the old woman who used to come to just outside the chateau was where the stagecoach used to stop before it went into town, and there was an old woman who used to come and speak to the stagecoach crews and the passengers, and she became known as the Old Trot, so the Trotte Vieille, and the name stuck to the chateau. So that's what so sorry, I'm digressing from the winemaking here. The wine ages in 100% new oak barrels, barriques, so small barrels, and that will do so for 18 to 24 months. So quite a lot of new oak influence there. So let's have a look at the wine, shall we? I find the colour on this, it's got a lovely depth of ruby red colour, but actually it's fairly pale. You've got a sort of an almost sort of brick to garnet note on the rim there. There's a reasonable depth of colour. I can only just see the stem of the glass as I look down through it. But yes, there's a sort of a paleness to the colour, slightly unexpected. Let's have a look at the aroma, shall we? They're quite developed. There's a sort of a dusty note, and that's a note. I mean, these wines will spend 4 weeks macerating during the process of fermentation, and that means that you're going to end up pulling tannins out of the pips, and that gives this sort of dusty note to the aromas. There are also notes of sort of forest floor, wet leaves. The red fruit notes. These are quite plum, almost with a sort of a hint of slightly overripe prune. There's quite a lifted note to the sort of pruniness. You get the impression that the elements within the wine are not completely married. I notice as I'm swirling here, you've got, I mean, the wine is 14% alcohol. You've got tears forming quite readily, and actually there's a little bit of colour to the tears, such as the pigmentation. But the aromas are not perhaps completely harmonised yet, but there's complexity. There's plenty going on there. Let's have a taste, shall we? there's an initial red fruit freshness, followed on by the start of some slightly truffly notes. There's quite a concentrated core of slightly dense, impenetrable, sort of licoricey dark fruit. There's some underlying sweet spice as well, sort of cinnamon, cedar, those sort of notes coming from the oak. It's reasonably well integrated, but there's a little bit of sort of slightly fiery, slightly cinnamony grip to that oak. It's still showing just a tiny touch raw. The alcohol's providing some quite nice warmth and roundness to the back palate, and there's a quite ripe, dark plum prune fruit continuing on the finish. It's sort of a dark reddish, quite developed, quite lifted note, and that's lasting reasonably well. There's quite good concentration. This is it's quite a ripe vintage, and it's quite rich. It's quite weighty. Having said that, the tannins have good suppleness. They're fine. They're velvety in texture, and they're not aggressively astringent. But there's a touch of drying, but not a lot. Drying is that sort of slightly dusty character. Maybe there's some hints of forest floor complexity, sort of dried leaves, that sort of thing, but that's only just starting to come out. This is still a relatively young wine, and I think this is the kind of wine that is worth putting in your cellar for sort of 10, 15, maybe 20 years, because it's showing those sort of, it's starting to show those lovely sort of developed truffle notes. Now it's got that delicious red fruit, and the two of those, as this wine continues to age, will should harmonise beautifully, and the oak will smooth down. I've no doubt the bouquet will develop in huge complexity, and so there's lovely intensity there already. So yes, that was 2017 Trotte Vieille Saint-Emilion Grand Cru Classé B. I hope you find the video interesting. I hope you get the chance to try some Trotte Vieille. Do please like and share the video. Do leave us your comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this wine and other wines. But most importantly, I hope you'll manage to join us again for another tasting very soon. Bye for now.